The fluorescent lights of Power Zone Fitness buzzed overhead like angry wasps as Rebecca stood frozen in the doorway, her new athletic shoes squeaking against the rubber mat. She'd rehearsed this moment 1,000 times in her mirror at home, but nothing prepared her for the wall of judgment that hit her the second she walked through those glass doors. 23 pairs of eyes turned toward her, scanning her 280-pound frame like she'd just crashed a wedding uninvited. "Can I help you?" The question came from a lean man in a tight black tank top, his tone making it clear he didn't actually want to help at all. Rebecca clutched her gym bag tighter, feeling the fabric of her XXXL workout shirt already sticking to her back with nervous sweat. This was supposed to be her fresh start, her 42nd birthday gift to herself. Instead, it felt like walking into a courtroom where she'd already been convicted. The man's name tag read, Derek, Senior Personal Trainer, and his smirk suggested he knew exactly what she was thinking, that she didn't belong here. If you believe in second chances and powerful comebacks, hit that like button and follow this channel for stories that prove your worth isn't measured by a scale. Because what happened next in that gym would spark a revolution that changed thousands of lives, including Rebecca's in ways she never imagined. Now, let me tell you how one woman's worst moment became her greatest weapon. Rebecca Martinez had spent 42 years making herself smaller, not physically. That ship had sailed after 3 pregnancies and a thyroid condition, but in every other way that mattered. She spoke softer in meetings, apologized for taking up space on the subway, ate her lunch in the office bathroom stall to avoid judgment. Her apartment in downtown Chicago was decorated in neutral beiges and whites, as if even her furniture was trying not to draw attention. The only splash of color came from her daughter Emma's artwork on the fridge. Crayon drawings of a smiling woman labeled, "My Beautiful Mama." Rebecca touched that drawing every morning before work, borrowing courage from a 7-year-old's unconditional love. Her ex-husband had left 3 years ago, and his parting words still echoed. "I can't be attracted to someone who's given up on herself." She hadn't given up. She'd been surviving. Her days followed a predictable rhythm. Wake at 5:30 a.m., prepare Emma's lunch, drop her at school, work as a data analyst at Morrison & Associates until 6 p.m., pick up Emma, make dinner, collapse into bed. Weekends were for Emma's soccer games, grocery shopping, and the endless, exhausting work of being a single mother who never quite felt like enough. Rebecca's own needs always came last, if they came at all. She'd gained weight with each pregnancy, then more during the divorce stress, and then the thyroid diagnosis explained why diet after diet failed. Her doctor had been kind but firm. "Rebecca, you need to move your body. Not for weight loss, for your heart, your bones, your mental health." So she'd started small, walking Emma to school instead of driving, taking the stairs at work. And finally, after 6 months of saving $75 a month, she had enough for a gym membership. Power Zone Fitness was 3 blocks from her office. Today, Monday, November 3rd, was supposed to be day 1 of her new life. The gym smelled like disinfectant and ambition, that sharp, clean scent of people trying to become better versions of themselves. Rebecca had arrived at 6:30 a.m., hoping the early hour meant fewer witnesses to her awkwardness. The place was packed with a morning crowd. Business people squeezing in cardio before board meetings, stay-at-home parents escaping toddler chaos, retirees religiously maintaining their health. Everyone seemed to know exactly what they were doing, moving between machines with practiced efficiency. Rebecca stood near the entrance, clutching her orientation packet, searching for a friendly face. The walls were covered in motivational posters. "Pain is weakness leaving the body. No excuses. Beast mode." She felt like none of those slogans were meant for someone like her. A woman with perfect blonde ponytail and abs visible through her sports bra glanced at Rebecca, then quickly looked away. That look said everything. Derek approached with the swagger of someone who'd been told he was attractive too many times. At maybe 30 years old, he had the kind of lean, muscular build that came from working out being your entire personality. His arms were covered in tribal tattoos, and his teeth were aggressively white when he smiled, which didn't reach his eyes. "First time?" he asked, already looking past her toward the free weight section. Rebecca nodded, hating how her voice came out small. "Yes, I signed up online. I'm supposed to get a free orientation session. Derek sighed like she just asked him to donate a kidney. Yeah, okay. Follow me. He walked fast, not checking if she was keeping up, weaving between equipment like he was trying to lose her. Rebecca's heart pounded, and not from exertion. This was a mistake. She should leave. But then she thought of Emma's drawing, of her doctor's concern, of all those years of making herself invisible. Not today. Today she stayed. The cardio section was a row of treadmills facing floor-to-ceiling mirrors, Rebecca's personal nightmare. Derek stopped at one, jabbing the buttons without explanation. Basic stuff. Bead here, incline here. Start slow, like really slow. His emphasis on really felt like a jab. Rebecca stepped onto the belt, and it lurched forward. She grabbed the handles, finding her rhythm, walking at a modest 2.5 miles per hour. Derek stood with his arms crossed, watching like a bored zookeeper. So what's your goal here? He asked. Rebecca kept her eyes forward. I want to get stronger. My doctor said regular exercise would help my... Let me guess, Derek interrupted. Thyroid thing, right? That's what they all say. His tone suggested he didn't believe her. They all meaning fat women, Rebecca understood. Her cheeks burned. Around them, other gym members pretended not to listen, but she felt their attention like heat lamps. This moment would define whether she'd ever come back. After 5 minutes, Derek told her to stop. All right, let's try some strength training. If you can handle it. That if hung in the air, loaded with assumption. He led her to the weight machines, and Rebecca's anxiety spiked. These contraptions looked like medieval torture devices, all pulleys and pads and mysterious adjustments. Derek gestured to a leg press machine. Sit here. Rebecca lowered herself onto the seat, but her hips didn't quite fit between the armrests. She had to angle her body, cheeks flaming with humiliation. Derek noticed, and something cruel flickered across his face. Tight squeeze. These machines are built for, standard body types. Standard. The word landed like a slap. Rebecca wanted to ask what standard meant, wanted to point out that the average American woman was a size 16, wanted to defend her right to exist in the space. Instead, she whispered, Should I try a different machine? Derek shrugged. If you want. But they're all basically the same sizing. He moved her to a chest press machine, not bothering to adjust the weight. Push forward, he instructed. Rebecca gripped the handles and pushed. The weight didn't budge. She tried again, face scrunching with effort. Nothing. It's on 80 pounds, Derek said flatly. That's our starting weight. Most people can handle that. Most people. Not you. The subtext was deafening. Sweat rolled down Rebecca's temples. Panic sweat, not workout sweat. Other gym members were definitely watching now. A guy in a college sweatshirt whispered something to his workout partner. They both glanced at her, then away. Rebecca's vision blurred with tears she refused to let fall. Derek adjusted the weight down to 40 pounds. Try now. This time the handles moved, but the victory felt hollow, poisoned by shame. She completed 8 shaky reps, and Derek didn't offer encouragement or correction. He just checked his phone, bored. That's probably enough for today, he said, dismissing her like a child who'd failed to keep his attention. But Rebecca had paid for 30 minutes, and she'd be damned if she'd slink away after 15. What about free weights? She asked, surprising herself. Derek's eyebrows rose. Free weights? You sure about that? His skepticism was palpable. Yes, Rebecca said, forcing strength into her voice. Derek led her to the weight area, the gym's testosterone-heavy corner where serious lifters grunted and dropped barbells with thunderous clangs. Rebecca felt like a rabbit in a wolf den. Derek handed her 2 5-pound dumbbells, the kind usually reserved for physical therapy patients. Bicep curls. 10 reps. Rebecca lifted the weights, and they felt absurdly light, insulting really. She could curl her 40-pound daughter. Can I try heavier? She asked. Derek's expression darkened. Look, he said, loud enough that nearby lifters paused their sets. I get it, okay? You're feeling motivated right now. That's great. But this isn't a place for people who are gonna give up in 2 weeks. The gym seemed to hold its breath. Rebecca's dumbbells hung at her sides, suddenly impossibly heavy. Excuse me, she managed. Derek continued, emboldened by his audience. I'm being real with you. Most people who look like you. He gestured vaguely at her body. They come in all pumped up, use the machines once or twice, then disappear. It's a pattern. And honestly, these machines weren't designed for that kind of weight load. The maintenance costs when equipment gets, stressed beyond capacity. He trailed off, but his meaning was nuclear clear. He was calling her too fat for the gym. Too fat for equipment designed for human bodies. Too fat to deserve a chance. The humiliation was a living thing, crawling up Rebecca's throat, choking her. Several people had stopped working out entirely, watching this public execution. A woman on the elliptical machine looked at Rebecca with pity, which somehow felt worse than Derek's cruelty. Rebecca's fight-or-flight response screamed flight. Drop the weights, grab your bag, run to your car, cry all the way home, cancel the membership, never speak of this again. Return to invisible safety. But something else whispered underneath the panic, a tiny, furious voice that sounded like her daughter. You're beautiful, Mama. Derek was still talking, something about how he was just being honest and doing her a favor, when a new voice cut through the noise. Derek. One word, but it carried the weight of absolute authority. Rebecca turned to see a man she'd vaguely noticed earlier, someone she'd assumed was just another gym regular. He was maybe 45, with silver threading through his dark hair, wearing a simple gray t-shirt and black athletic shorts. His build suggested strength without vanity. Broad shoulders, solid frame, the body of someone who worked out for function, not Instagram. His expression was thunderous. My office. The man's voice was quiet but unyielding. Derek's face went through several expressions in rapid succession. Confusion, recognition, then poorly concealed panic. Marcus, I was just... Now. Marcus, apparently his name, looked at Rebecca and his expression softened completely. Ma'am, I apologize for what you just experienced. That's not who we are. Please give me 15 minutes to handle this, and then I'd like to personally complete your orientation. If you're willing to stay. Rebecca's brain struggled to process the tonal whiplash. This man's eyes held no pity, no judgment, just genuine remorse and something like, respect? Who are you? She asked. A slight smile touched his lips, though anger still simmered behind his eyes. Marcus Chen. I own Power Zone Fitness. And Derek here just violated about 6 company policies, along with basic human decency. Rebecca sat in the gym's smoothie bar area. Hands wrapped around a complimentary protein shake she hadn't asked for but appreciated nonetheless. The young woman who'd made it, Tasha, according to her name tag, had heard everything. Derek's an asshole, Tasha said matter-of-factly, wiping down the counter. He's got this thing about optimal body composition or whatever. Like, dude, it's a gym, not the Olympics. Rebecca managed a weak smile, still processing. Through the office window, she could see Marcus and Derek. The conversation looked heated, with Derek gesticulating defensively while Marcus remained stone still, arms crossed. Other gym members had returned to their workouts, but Rebecca felt the residual attention, the curiosity. She imagined their thoughts. Did you hear what he said to her? Oh my God, so awkward. Poor woman. She hated being poor woman. She wanted to be strong woman, capable woman. Woman who didn't let some jacked jerk reduce her to tears. The rage came slowly, then all at once. Rebecca had spent so much of her life swallowing anger, transforming it into something more palatable. Sadness, self-blame, resignation. But sitting in that smoothie bar, watching Derek get reprimanded while her body still vibrated with humiliation, she felt something shift. Fuck. The thought was so clear, so satisfying it almost shocked her. Fuck Derek and his tribal tattoos and his standard body types. Fuck every person who'd ever made her feel less than because of her size. Fuck her ex-husband's parting shot. Fuck the airline seats, the restaurant booths, the sample-size clothing stores, the medical professionals who blamed every ailment on her weight. Fuck all of it. She took a long pull of her protein shake, chocolate peanut butter surprisingly good, and felt something like power uncurl in her chest. She hadn't done anything wrong. She'd simply shown up. That should have been enough. Marcus emerged from his office 15 minutes later, Derek trailing behind with red-rimmed eyes and an expression like a scolded child. They approached Rebecca, and every instinct screamed at her to make this easier for them, to say, "It's fine, no big deal." But it wasn't fine. It was a big deal. She stayed silent, letting them squirm. Marcus spoke first. "Ms. Martinez, Derek has something he'd like to say." Derek's apology was clearly scripted, wooden. "I'm sorry for my inappropriate comments. They don't reflect the values of Power Zone Fitness. I was out of line." He couldn't quite meet her eyes. Rebecca waited. Marcus prompted. "And?" Derek swallowed. "And I'm going to complete a sensitivity training course. Effective immediately, I'm suspended for 2 weeks without pay." His jaw clenched at that last part, apparently news to him. But Rebecca still said nothing, just watched him. Finally she spoke. "Do you actually understand why what you said was wrong?" Derek blinked, caught off guard by a direct question. Yeah. I shouldn't have said those things." "What things specifically?" Rebecca pressed. She felt Marcus watching her with something like approval. Derek floundered. About your body. And the equipment. That was unprofessional." "It was discriminatory," Rebecca corrected. "It was fatphobic. It was you deciding I wasn't worth your time or respect based solely on my appearance. It was you assuming I'm lazy, uncommitted, and somehow a burden to your machines, which, by the way, have a weight capacity of 400 pounds according to your own website." Check. She'd actually looked that up while waiting, fury fueling research. Derek had the grace to look genuinely ashamed now. "You're right. Sorry. Really." Rebecca nodded slowly. "Okay. Thank you." He turned to Marcus. "I'd like to continue my orientation now, if your offer still stands." Marcus's tour of Power Zone Fitness was nothing like Derek's dismissive speedwalk. He moved slowly, explaining each machine's purpose, adjusting seats and weights to Rebecca's frame without comment, treating her like any other client. His teaching style was patient, informative. He'd clearly done this thousands of times but approached it with fresh enthusiasm. "This is the cable machine," he explained. "Incredibly versatile. You can work every muscle group depending on the attachment and your position. Start with lightweight, focus on form. The goal isn't to impress anyone. It's to build a practice you can sustain for decades." Decades. The word struck Rebecca. She'd been thinking in terms of months, maybe a year. Marcus was talking about her long-term future like it was a given. Like she was an athlete in training, not a desperate woman trying to fix herself. "What got you into fitness?" Rebecca asked as they moved to the rowing machines. Marcus smiled, a real one this time. "Honestly, I was a fat kid," Marcus said, and Rebecca's surprise must have shown because he laughed. "Yeah, hard to believe now, but I was 240 pounds in 8th grade. Got bullied mercilessly. Lost the weight in high school the unhealthy way, obsessive exercising and basically starving myself. Wound up in the hospital with malnutrition." He demonstrated proper rowing form as he talked. His movements fluid and practiced. "It took me years to develop a healthy relationship with fitness. To understand that working out isn't punishment for having a body. It's celebration of what your body can do. That's what I wanted this gym to be. A place that builds people up instead of tearing them down. Clearly, I haven't succeeded if someone like Derek is working here." His voice hardened at the end. Rebecca pulled the rowing handle, finding the rhythm Marcus had shown her. Push with legs, pull with arms, smooth and controlled. Felt good, challenging but doable. "So what happens now?" Rebecca asked. "With Derek." Marcus helped her off the rower, showing her how to properly wipe down equipment. 2 week suspension, mandatory training, And he's on probation for 6 months. Another incident and he's gone. But honestly, Rebecca, can I call you Rebecca? She nodded. Honestly, I'm more concerned about you. You came here to start your fitness journey, and instead you got traumatized. I need to make this right. What would that look like for you? No one had asked Rebecca that question in so long. Not her ex-husband, not her boss, not her parents. What would making it right look like? She considered while they walked toward the women's locker room. The initial humiliation had faded, replaced by something more complicated. Anger, yes, but also a strange clarity. She'd survived Derek's worst, and she was still here. Still standing. Still interested in coming back, weirdly enough. I want to not feel like an anomaly, Rebecca said finally. When I walked in here today, I felt like I was crashing a space not meant for me. Every poster, every advertisement, every person working here, they all suggested this place is for people who already look like Derek. And here's the thing, Marcus. I know I'm not the only fat person in Chicago who wants to get stronger. I'm not the only person intimidated by gym culture. If Power Zone is really about building people up, why does it only show one type of body? Marcus had stopped walking, fully attentive. Rebecca continued, emboldened. Your marketing shows people with six-packs. Your success stories are all about weight loss. Your trainers, well, Derek speaks for himself. You say this is a judgment-free zone, but the environment says otherwise. She paused, worried she'd overstepped. But Marcus was nodding slowly, a thoughtful expression on his face. You're absolutely right. And I've been complacent. Can I tell you something? Marcus leaned against the wall, crossing his arms. Not defensively, but like someone settling in for real conversation. I opened Power Zone 12 years ago with good intentions. I wanted to create an inclusive space. But then the business side took over. I focused on expansion. We now have 4 locations across Chicago, and I lost sight of the mission. I hired trainers based on their fitness credentials and their ability to attract clients. People like Derek who look like walking advertisements. I didn't think about what message that sends, or who feels unwelcome because of it. He ran a hand through his salt and pepper hair. My sister, Maria, she struggled with her weight her whole life. Tried every diet, every program. She joined a gym 3 years ago, super excited, and the experience was so degrading she never went back. When I asked why, she said the trainer kept talking about getting her to a healthy weight, like her body was a problem to solve. I was pissed at that gym, but I never looked at my own business. Not really. Rebecca felt that familiar ache of recognition. How many stories like Maria's were out there? How many people had given up on fitness because the industry made them feel unworthy? Where's your sister now? She asked gently. Marcus's expression clouded. She passed away last year. Heart attack at 47. The doctors said regular exercise might have helped, but she'd been so traumatized by gym experiences that she couldn't bring herself to try again. She did home workouts sometimes, but without guidance or community. His voice trailed off, thick with regret. I'm sorry, Rebecca whispered. Marcus shook his head. Don't be. But let me ask you something. Would you be willing to help me change Power Zone? To make it actually inclusive, not just theoretically. I need someone who understands what it feels like to be on the outside. Someone who's not afraid to call out bullshit. And you just proved you can do that. The proposal hung in the air between them. Rebecca's first instinct was to refuse. She was a data analyst, not a fitness industry consultant. She had a daughter to raise, a full-time job, barely enough hours in the day as it was. But something deeper stirred. This morning she'd walked into this gym defeated before she even started, convinced that spaces like this would never be for her. What if she could change that? Not just for herself, but for women like Marcus's sister, for her own daughter who would grow up in a world that judged bodies relentlessly. I don't know anything about running a gym, Rebecca said. Marcus smiled. But you know everything about being excluded from one. That's more valuable. Look, I'm not asking you to quit your job or anything. Just be a consultant. Come in a few times a week, work out, tell me what feels wrong and what could be better. I'll pay you for your time. And you get a free membership, obviously, plus access to any trainer you want. Definitely not Derek. Rebecca thought of Emma's drawing. My beautiful mama. She thought of her doctor's gentle concern. She thought of every time she'd walked past a gym window and felt that mix of longing and certainty that she didn't belong. Okay, she heard herself say. But I have conditions. Marcus straightened, professional now. Name them. First, I need this in writing. A contract that specifies my role, payment, and the fact that I can leave any time if it becomes too much. Second, I want access to all your marketing materials, staff training programs, and customer feedback. If we're doing this, we're doing it right. Third, she paused, the big one. I want to share my story publicly. What happened with Derek today? Because I guarantee it's happened before, to other people who didn't have the owner walk in at the right moment. And it'll happen again unless there's real accountability. Marcus didn't hesitate. Done. All of it. They shook hands, and Rebecca felt the strangest sensation, like the trajectory of her life had just shifted 15 degrees. Small enough that the destination looked similar, but over time, over distance, that 15 degrees would take her somewhere completely different. She left Power Zone that morning at 8:15 a.m. with a contract drafted on Marcus's laptop to be formalized by lawyers, a workout plan designed specifically for her current fitness level and goals, and a new understanding of her own voice. The fury she'd felt earlier had transformed into something more useful. Determination. That night, after putting Emma to bed, Rebecca sat at her kitchen table with her laptop. She opened a blank document and began typing. Today, I was told I was too fat for a gym. Here's what happened next. She posted it on Facebook, tagging Power Zone Fitness, not to shame but to document. To reclaim her narrative. By morning, her post had 3,000 shares. Local news outlets had picked it up. Her phone wouldn't stop buzzing with messages from friends, acquaintances, complete strangers saying, "This happened to me too, and thank you for speaking up, and we need more gyms like what you're describing." Marcus called at 7 a.m. His voice both excited and overwhelmed. "Rebecca, we need to talk. This is bigger than I thought." They met for coffee before work, and Marcus showed her his laptop screen. Power Zone's website had crashed from traffic. Their social media was flooded with comments, some supportive, some hateful, all passionate. "I've gotten 17 interview requests from media outlets," Marcus said. "And about 40 emails from people asking if Power Zone is really going to change or if it's just PR." Rebecca sipped her latte, processing. "What do you want to do?" "I want to actually change," Marcus said firmly. "Everything. And I want you to lead it. Not as a consultant. As my director of inclusive fitness. Full-time position, competitive salary, benefits. What do you say?" Rebecca thought about her cubicle at Morrison & Associates, about spreadsheets and quarterly reports and the slow march toward retirement doing work that didn't matter. She thought about Emma inheriting a world where gyms were gate-kept territories instead of welcoming spaces. She thought about Marcus's sister Maria, and all the Mariahs who'd given up. "I need to talk to my daughter first," Rebecca said. "This is a big decision." Emma's response that evening was immediate. "Mama, you should do it. Then maybe I can learn to be strong like you." 7-year-old wisdom, cutting right to the truth. Rebecca called Marcus that night. "I'm in. But we're going to do this right. No performative diversity, no token fat girl in your marketing. Real systemic change. It's going to be uncomfortable. People are going to push back. You ready for that?" Marcus laughed. "Rebecca, I've been comfortable for 12 years, and look where it got me. Let's burn it down and build it back better." Rebecca's first day as Director of Inclusive Fitness at Power Zone was December 1st. Exactly 1 month after her confrontation with Derek. She'd given 4 weeks' notice at Morrison & Associates, using the time to research, plan, and prepare for the transformation ahead. Her new office was small but hers, with windows overlooking the main gym floor. Marcus had installed it so she could observe everything, see where problems arose in real time. From her desk, Rebecca watched a woman in her 60s tentatively approach the weight section, only to turn away when a group of younger men didn't make space. Note taken, territorial behavior around free weights. She typed it into her growing document titled, Problems and Solutions. The gym's culture wouldn't change overnight, but she'd start with the most egregious issues and work her way down. First order of business: staff training. Rebecca had insisted on conducting the training herself. Marcus assembled all Power Zone employees, trainers, front desk staff, custodial crew, everyone, in the group fitness studio at 6 a.m. on a Monday. 23 people sat on yoga mats, various levels of receptiveness on their faces. Derek was there, recently returned from suspension, sitting in the back with his arms crossed. Perfect. Good morning, Rebecca began, standing at the front with a confidence she was still building but faking well. I'm Rebecca Martinez, your new director of inclusive fitness. Some of you know my story. For those who don't, I walked into this gym 6 weeks ago for an orientation and was told I was too fat to use the equipment safely. That I'd probably quit in 2 weeks like people who look like me always do. That the machines weren't designed for my weight load. The room was silent. Show of hands. How many of you have said something similar to a client? Maybe not as bluntly, but the same message. No hands went up, but Rebecca saw tells. Averted eyes, shifting postures, guilty expressions. Let me rephrase. How many of you have assumed something about a client based on their body size? Assumed they're lazy or unmotivated, or won't stick with their program? Slowly, reluctantly, about half the hands rose. Including Derek's. Progress. Thank you for your honesty, Rebecca said. Here's the thing, we all have biases. They're societal, deeply ingrained. I'm not here to shame you for having them. I'm here to help you recognize them and do better. Because here's what you don't know about that fat client you're judging. She clicked her remote, and the screen behind her lit up with statistics. Studies show that people in larger bodies face discrimination in medical settings, employment, housing, and yes, fitness spaces. They're less likely to receive quality healthcare because doctors blame everything on their weight. They're less likely to work out in public due to fear of judgment. Judgment that, let's be honest, is often justified. Rebecca advanced to the next slide. A photo of herself from orientation day, looking vulnerable and uncomfortable. She'd asked Tasha to take it, knowing she'd need it. This is what trauma looks like. This is what discrimination in action looks like. And this is what I refuse to let happen in Power Zone anymore. She let that sink in before continuing. Starting today, we're implementing new policies. First, no unsolicited comments about anyone's body size, shape, or weight. 0. I don't care if you think you're being motivational. If a client doesn't specifically ask for nutrition advice or weight loss strategies, you don't offer them. Second, we adjust our language. No more real women. No more beach body ready. No more guilt-free anything. Exercise is not punishment for eating. Food is not the enemy. Movement is celebration. Third, we actively make space. If you see someone being excluded, from equipment, from areas of the gym, from community, you intervene. We are, all of us, responsible for this culture. A hand went up. Jackson, one of the younger trainers, barely 25. What if a client is genuinely at risk? Like if their weight is impacting their form or safety? Good question, honest question. You address the behavior, not the body, Rebecca answered. Say, let's modify this exercise to protect your knees instead of, this is too advanced for your fitness level. Say, I notice you're struggling with balance here, let's try this variation. Instead of, you need to lose weight before attempting this. Focus on what their body can do, help them do it safely, and trust that they're the experts on their own experience. Your job is to facilitate, not to judge or diagnose. Jackson nodded, considering. Another hand, this one from Melissa, a trainer who specialized in senior fitness. What about health? Are we just supposed to ignore when someone's lifestyle is hurting them? The question held an edge, a challenge. Rebecca had been waiting for it. Define healthy, Rebecca countered. Because I can show you marathon runners who drop dead of heart attacks and obese people who have perfect blood work and vice versa. Health is not determined by appearance. It's not visible. And frankly, it's not your business unless a client brings it up. She paused, gentling her tone. Look, I understand the concern. You went into fitness because you care about people's well-being. But caring doesn't mean controlling. Some people are fat and healthy. Some are fat and unhealthy. Some are thin and healthy. Some are thin and unhealthy. Your job is to help whoever walks through that door move their body in ways that feel good and build strength, not to assign moral value to their size. Melissa's expression suggested she wasn't fully convinced, but she nodded. These conversations would be ongoing, Rebecca knew. You couldn't dismantle decades of fat phobia in one training session, but you could plant seeds. One more thing, Rebecca said, advancing to her final slide. It showed before and after photos, but not the kind gyms usually featured. These were photos of the same people, same bodies, different expressions. This is what success looks like at Power Zone moving forward. Same body, bigger smile. Same weight, stronger mindset. Same person, more confident. We will not use before and after weight loss photos in our marketing anymore. We will not celebrate pounds lost as the ultimate achievement. We will celebrate consistency, strength gains, improved mobility, better mental health, community connection. Because those are what actually matter for long-term health and happiness. She turned off the screen and faced her colleagues. I know this is different. I know some of you think I'm being too sensitive or too political. But I'm asking you to trust me, to trust the research, and to trust that our clients, all of them, deserve respect and dignity. Questions. Silence for a long moment. Then Derek spoke from the back. What if clients want to lose weight? Are we not allowed to help them? His tone wasn't combative, genuinely curious. Rebecca appreciated that. Of course you can help them. If and only if they bring it up and explicitly ask for that support. Then you provide it without shame, without tricks, with evidence-based strategies and realistic expectations. You acknowledge that 95% of diets fail long-term, not because people lack willpower but because bodies are biologically designed to resist sustained caloric restriction. You help them understand that weight loss, if it happens, is a side effect of consistent movement and adequate nutrition, not the goal itself. The goal is feeling strong, capable, healthy. Can you do that? Derek considered, then nodded slowly. Yeah, can try. That's all I ask, Rebecca said. Try. Catch yourself when old habits surface. Apologize when you screw up. Keep learning. That goes for all of us, me included. The meeting ended with mixed energy. Some people energized, some skeptical, some clearly resistant. Marcus approached as the room emptied. That was brilliant, he said quietly. And terrifying. Half of them looked like you just told them Santa isn't real. Rebecca laughed. They'll adapt or they'll leave. Better we know now who's committed to the mission. Over the next 2 weeks, 3 trainers quit, including Melissa. They didn't explicitly cite Rebecca's policies, but the timing was clear. Fine. Marcus used it as an opportunity to hire differently. Trainers with diverse body types, trainers who specialized in adaptive fitness, trainers who'd personally navigated fat discrimination. The new hires changed the gym's visual landscape immediately. Clients noticed. Some loved it. Some canceled memberships, leaving scathing reviews about Power Zone lowering standards and promoting obesity. Each nasty comment stung, but Rebecca had expected pushback. Change always met resistance. What she hadn't expected was the overwhelming positive response. For every cancelled membership, 5 new ones signed up. People drove from across Chicago, hell from across Illinois, to join a gym that explicitly welcomed all bodies. The waiting list grew. Media coverage intensified. Rebecca did interviews with local news, fitness magazines, even a segment on a national morning show. Why is body inclusivity in fitness so important to you? The host asked. Rebecca answered from her core truth. Because my daughter is 7. She's going to grow up in a world that scrutinizes her body relentlessly. I want her to know that her worth isn't determined by her size, that movement is joyful, that she deserves space. And she's not the only kid who needs that message. Neither are adults. We all deserve better than a fitness industry that treats our bodies like problems to fix. The segment went viral. 2 million views. Power Zone's transformation became a case study. But success brought new challenges. One afternoon in late December, Rebecca was reviewing membership applications when Marcus knocked on her office door. "We have a situation," he said, and his expression was serious. In his office, Rebecca found a woman she didn't recognize. Mid-50s, expensive suit, the air of someone used to being obeyed. "Rebecca, this is Patricia Holden," Marcus introduced. "She's the CEO of Fit Corp, the company that owns the property Power Zone leases." Rebecca's stomach dropped. "Ms. Martinez," Patricia said, her smile sharp as a knife. "I've been following your initiative with great interest. But I'm afraid we have concerns. Your media presence has drawn attention to this location, and not all of it positive. The property value could be impacted if Power Zone becomes known as the Fat Gym." The slur was casual, delivered with corporate detachment. Rebecca felt rage ignite. "Power Zone is an inclusive gym," she corrected. "And last I checked, inclusive businesses actually increase property value by serving wider demographics." Patricia's smile didn't waver. "Be that as it may, Fit Corp has standards for our commercial tenants. We're concerned that your new clientele might not align with the image we're cultivating for this building. We have a luxury yoga studio on the second floor, an organic smoothie bar, a wellness boutique. The aesthetic matters." The subtext was loud. "Fat people don't fit our aesthetic." Marcus started to respond, but Rebecca held up a hand. "Ms. Holden, let me understand. You're suggesting that Power Zone's lease might be in jeopardy because we're serving people you deem aesthetically unpleasing." "I'm suggesting," Patricia said, tone hardening, "that your current direction may constitute a breach of our community standards clause. We'll be reviewing your lease agreement with our lawyers. I wanted to give you a courtesy heads up." She stood, smoothing her skirt. "I hope we can resolve this amicably. But Power Zone needs to decide what kind of business it wants to be. A legitimate fitness center or a publicity stunt." After Patricia left, Marcus looked shaken. "Rebecca, if we lose this lease, we lose our flagship location. And breaking the lease would cost us $200,000 in penalties. I don't have that kind of capital." Rebecca's mind raced. "Do we have a lawyer? Someone who specializes in discrimination cases?" "For employment law, yes." "Why?" "Because what Patricia just did is illegal," Rebecca said, fury making her voice shake. "She essentially threatened us with eviction for serving a protected class. That's housing discrimination, or commercial property discrimination, same principle. We document everything, we lawyer up, and we fight." Marcus hesitated. "That could get ugly. Expensive. Drawn out." "So is backing down," Rebecca countered. "Marcus, if we cave to Fit Corp, we're telling every fat person who joined Power Zone because we promise safety that their membership is contingent on staying invisible. We're saying that our commitment to inclusion only extends as far as it's convenient. Is that the gym you want to run?" Marcus met her eyes, and she saw him make the decision in real time. "No, it's not. Let's fight." They hired Cynthia Rodriguez, an attorney who specialized in civil rights and discrimination law. Cynthia listened to their account of Patricia's visit, reviewed the lease, and smiled. "Oh, this is good. Really good. Fit Corp just handed us a gift." She explained. The lease's community standards clause was vague enough to be unenforceable, and Patricia's explicit link between Power Zone's clientele and aesthetic standards created a paper trail of discriminatory intent. "If they try to evict you, we sue. And we'll win. But better yet, we send them a letter now. Firm, legal, citing precedent, and watch them scramble. Companies like Fit Corp hate public fights over discrimination. It's brand poison." The letter went out December 28th. By January 2nd, Fit Corp's lawyers responded with a terse message. They'd been misunderstood and had no intention of pursuing lease termination. The Community Standards Clause would be stricken from future leases. Case closed. The victory was sweet, but Rebecca knew it was just one battle. The war for inclusive fitness spaces was far from over. In early January, she launched the next phase of PowerZone's transformation, the Every Body Moves program. It included modified equipment zones with wider benches and higher weight capacities, clearly labeled, diverse visual representation in all marketing materials, featuring clients of all sizes, ages, abilities, and races. Mandatory ongoing bias training for all staff, with annual recertification. Community partnerships with eating disorder recovery centers, body-positive therapists, and adaptive sports organizations. Free classes specifically designed for beginners, seniors, and people with chronic conditions. And a zero-tolerance policy for harassment, enforced immediately and publicly. The program's launch event was a media spectacle. Local news covered it. Fitness influencers, both supportive and critical, posted about it. And hundreds of people showed up, many in tears, saying they'd never thought they'd feel welcome in a gym. Emma came to the launch event wearing a t-shirt Rebecca had made. "My mama changed the fitness industry." She was so proud, telling anyone who'd listen about her mom's important work. Rebecca watched her daughter navigate the crowd with unself-conscious confidence, and felt something break open in her chest. This was why. Not for accolades or media attention, but for the next generation to grow up knowing their bodies were worthy exactly as they were. That night, exhausted but exhilarated, Rebecca stood in PowerZone's empty main gym. The lights were dimmed, equipment silent, the space peaceful. She walked to the leg press machine where Derek had humiliated her 2 months ago. She sat down, adjusted the weight to 180 pounds, more than double what he'd started her with, and pressed. Her legs burned, muscles straining, but the weight moved smoothly. She completed 10 reps, then stood, breathing hard, smiling wide. Her body was strong. Had always been strong. She just needed space to prove it. By March, PowerZone's transformation was in full swing. Membership had increased 300%, forcing Marcus to reconsider his expansion strategy. Instead of opening new traditional gyms, they decided to convert existing locations one by one to the inclusive model. Rebecca became the face of this change, traveling between PowerZone's 4 Chicago locations to implement training, adjust physical spaces, and troubleshoot resistance. She'd also become something of an accidental activist, speaking at fitness industry conferences, consulting for other gym owners, writing articles for health publications. Her message was simple but revolutionary. Everybody deserves access to movement. The fitness industry listened slowly. Some embraced the model. Others derided it as woke nonsense. Rebecca didn't care about winning over the critics. She cared about the people slipping through the door tentatively, checking if this space was really safe, staying when they realized it was. One of those people was Jennifer, a 52-year-old accountant who'd avoided gyms for 15 years after a trainer made her cry during a weigh-in. Jennifer signed up in February, worked with a trainer named Keisha, one of the new diverse hires, and slowly rebuilt her relationship with exercise. "I forgot that movement could feel good," Jennifer told Rebecca during a casual conversation by the water fountain. "I'd associated working out with shame for so long. But Keisha never mentions my weight, never pushes me past what feels right. She just helps me get stronger. It's revolutionary." Stories like Jennifer's fueled Rebecca. Each one was evidence that this approach worked, that the fitness industry's obsession with weight loss wasn't just harmful, it was bad business. Happy clients stayed. Shamed clients left. PowerZone's retention rates were now the highest in Chicago's fitness market. Data didn't lie. But personal transformation couldn't be measured only in membership statistics. Rebecca had changed too, in ways that had nothing to do with pounds lost. She'd actually gained 10 pounds of muscle and couldn't care less, and everything to do with presence reclaimed. She walked differently now, took up space unapologetically, spoke with authority earned through battle. Her wardrobe had evolved too. Gone were the neutral beiges meant to help her blend into backgrounds. She wore bold colors now. Cobalt blue, deep purple, emerald green. She'd cut her hair into a sharp bob that made her feel powerful. When Emma said, "Mama, you look like a superhero." Rebecca realized she felt like one too. Not because she'd defeated all the villains. Fat phobia was systemic, deeply rooted, but because she'd claimed her right to fight. That was its own superpower. Her relationship with Derek, oddly, had evolved into something resembling mutual respect. After his suspension and the intensive bias training, Derek had done actual work, reading books Rebecca recommended, following fat activists on social media, examining his own shit. One afternoon in late March, he knocked on Rebecca's office door. "Can we talk?" he asked, and she gestured him in. Derek sat across from her, looking uncomfortable but determined. "I've been thinking about what I said to you that first day. And I realize now that it wasn't just unprofessional. It was cruel. I was cruel. I don't have a good excuse. I was taught that fitness equals thinness, that my job was to make people smaller, and I never questioned it. Caused real harm." He paused. "I'm working on it. Reading, learning, trying to do better with clients. But I wanted you to know I'm sorry. Really sorry. Not because Marcus made me apologize, but because I genuinely regret hurting you." Rebecca studied him, looking for insincerity and finding none. "I appreciate that, Derek. Genuinely. Takes courage to confront your own bias." "Can I ask," Derek said hesitantly, "how do you not hate me? I'd understand if you did." Rebecca considered. "Hate takes too much energy. And honestly, you're not special. You're just one person who said out loud what diet culture teaches all of us, that fat bodies are wrong. I spent decades hating my own body because of messages like yours. But hating you doesn't liberate me. Changing the system that created your bias does." Derek nodded slowly. Can I do something to help? With your programs, I mean. I know I'm probably the last person you want representing inclusion, but if there's background work or something." "Actually," Rebecca said, idea sparking, "I've been thinking about creating a reformed trainer workshop, teaching trainers who've caused harm how to do better. You interested in co-leading it?" Derek's eyes widened. Seriously? Seriously? Who better to reach trainers with problematic views than someone who's been there? The Reformed Trainer Workshop launched in April, co-led by Rebecca and Derek. It was uncomfortable, raw, necessary work. Trainers from gyms across Chicago attended, many defensive at first, slowly opening to the difficult conversations. Derek's vulnerability about his own journey was powerful, proof that change was possible. The workshop became a model, requested by gyms in other cities. Rebecca and Derek traveled together, this unlikely team, dismantling fat phobia one session at a time. Their professional relationship was proof of Rebecca's core philosophy. People could change if given the right tools and held accountable. By May, Power Zone's success had attracted attention from Fitstream, a national fitness magazine. They wanted to feature Rebecca on the cover, the woman revolutionizing fitness. The photo shoot was scheduled for May 15th, and Rebecca felt complicated about it. Being the face of body positivity meant her body would be scrutinized endlessly. But visibility mattered. Representation mattered. The day of the shoot, Rebecca stood in front of the camera in athletic wear that fit her properly. No more squeezing into sizes too small, no more hiding in oversized t-shirts. She wore fitted black leggings and a purple sports bra that showed her soft belly, her strong arms, her curves. The photographer, a woman named Alexis, was patient and affirming. Chin up, shoulders back. That's power. Give me confidence. Beautiful. The word beautiful, applied to her body without asterisks or conditions, still felt startling. The resulting cover was stunning. Rebecca mid-deadlift, face fierce with concentration, body strong and unapologetic. The headline read, "They mocked the fat woman, she changed the industry." Inside was a 10-page feature detailing her journey, Power Zone's transformation, and the growing inclusive fitness movement. Publication date was June 1st. The magazine hit stands on a Tuesday. By Wednesday, it had sold out in Chicago. Online, the response was explosive, mostly positive, some viciously negative. Rebecca's inbox flooded with messages. Among them was one that stopped her cold. "Rebecca, it's Maria's daughter Sophia. Uncle Marcus told me about you and Power Zone. My mom would have loved what you're building. She spent so much of her life hating her body, thinking she wasn't worthy of taking up space. I wish she'd had somewhere like Power Zone. Thank you for creating it for her and for everyone like her. I'm joining the gym today. See you there." Rebecca cried reading it. Great, heaving sobs that released months of pressure. Marcus's sister, whose death had helped catalyze this change, was honored in the work. Mattered. God, it mattered so much. She framed Sophia's email and hung it in her office, a reminder of why the hard days were worth it. That evening, Emma asked her mom if she was famous now. Rebecca laughed. "I don't know about famous, baby. But I'm making a difference. And that's better." Emma nodded seriously. "Can I help make a difference too?" "You already do," Rebecca said. "Every time you're kind to someone, every time you stand up for what's right, every time you love yourself exactly as you are, you make a difference." The summer brought new challenges and opportunities. Several major gym chains reached out to Rebecca, wanting to replicate Power Zone's model. She consulted with them carefully, ensuring their commitment was genuine and not just trend-chasing. Some passed her tests. Others revealed themselves as performative. Rebecca learned to trust her instincts. Meanwhile, her personal life blossomed in unexpected ways. She'd been so focused on work and Emma that dating hadn't been a priority. But in July, she met someone, not at the gym ironically but at Emma's soccer game. His name was Michael, a single dad to Emma's teammate, an engineer who was kind and funny and didn't make Rebecca's body the subject of conversation. They went on dates that felt easy. Coffee, bookstores, museums, picnics with their daughters. Michael once said, "You know what I find attractive? Your confidence. The way you move through the world like you belong there." Rebecca had smiled. "I do belong here." By August, Power Zone had become a certified B Corporation, officially committing to social and environmental responsibility. Rebecca had pushed for this, wanting their values legally enshrined. The company's mission statement now explicitly included, "Power Zone Fitness exists to provide accessible, judgment-free spaces where everybody can build strength, community, and joy through movement. We reject diet culture, weight stigma, and discriminatory practices. We commit to ongoing education, accountability, and activism in pursuit of true fitness equity." Marcus framed it, hung it in every location's lobby. They meant it. The fitness industry took note. Some competitors dismissed Power Zone as a niche market that would eventually fail. Others quietly adopted elements of the inclusive model: better equipment accessibility, more diverse marketing, adjusted staff training. Progress was slow but real. Rebecca knew they'd never reach everyone, never convert the entire industry. But every gym that did better, every trainer who unlearned fat phobia, every person who found safe space to move, it all mattered. In September, Rebecca received an invitation that felt like a culmination. TEDx Chicago wanted her to speak. Topic: Reclaiming Space. How Body Liberation Transforms Fitness. She accepted, then panicked. Public speaking was one thing. A TED Talk was another level. She spent weeks crafting her speech, practicing in front of Emma and Michael, refining until every word felt right. The talk was scheduled for October 15th. Rebecca wore a red dress that hugged her curves, stood on that iconic red circle, and told her truth to 1,500 people. She talked about Derek, about Power Zone's transformation, about her daughter and Marcus's sister, and every person who'd ever been made to feel too big for the world. She talked about movement as liberation, about bodies as worthy without caveat, about the revolutionary act of taking up space. The audience stood, applauded until their hands hurt. The video went viral within days. 2 million views, then 5 million, then 10 million. Comments poured in from around the world. By November 2026, exactly 1 year after Rebecca's first devastating visit to Power Zone, the gym had become a national model for inclusive fitness. Marcus had sold his majority stake to Rebecca, making her not just director but co-owner. She'd used a small business loan and the profits from her consulting work to buy in, cementing her commitment. PowerZone now had 8 locations across Illinois, with plans to expand to 5 more states by 2027. Each location followed the inclusive model precisely. No deviation, no compromise. Rebecca insisted on consistency. The brand promise had to mean something. Membership had grown to 12,000 people across all locations, with waiting lists at every site. The demographic was beautifully diverse. All ages, all sizes, all abilities, all identities. Exactly as Rebecca had envisioned. Financial success had followed ethical practice. PowerZone's annual revenue was up 400% from pre-transformation numbers. Proof that inclusion wasn't just right. It was profitable. The fitness industry had changed too, if incrementally. Major conferences now included sessions on body inclusivity and anti-fat phobia training. Fitness equipment manufacturers started designing for wider body diversity after PowerZone and similar gyms provided market pressure. Mainstream activewear brands expanded their size ranges. It wasn't perfect, far from it, but the conversation had shifted. Fat people in gyms were no longer anomalies. They were clients deserving of respect. Rebecca's work had contributed to that shift, along with countless activists, researchers, and advocates who'd been fighting this fight for decades. She never claimed sole credit. She was part of a movement, standing on the shoulders of those who'd come before. But her story, public, documented, transformed into change, had resonated. The Fitstream cover hung in her office now, alongside Emma's drawing, still taped to the wall, and Sophia's framed email. Visual reminders of her why. Derek had become one of PowerZone's most requested trainers, specifically among clients with trauma around fitness spaces. He'd found his calling helping people rebuild trust in movement and in themselves. His transformation was genuine, ongoing. He still screwed up sometimes, caught himself in old language patterns, corrected and apologized. But his dedication to doing better was clear. He'd even started a podcast called Unlearning Fitness Culture, where he interviewed fat activists, discussed his own journey, and provided resources for other trainers wanting to change. The podcast had developed a following, particularly among young trainers looking for alternatives to traditional fitness education. Derek and Rebecca's professional relationship had evolved into genuine friendship, the kind born from shared mission and mutual respect. They'd appeared on panels together, co-authored articles, even planned to write a book about PowerZone's transformation. Title: No Body Left Behind, Creating Truly Inclusive Fitness Spaces. In November, PowerZone hosted its first annual Body Liberation Summit, a 3-day conference bringing together fitness professionals, healthcare providers, activists, and community members to discuss the intersection of body justice and movement access. Over 800 people attended, and the energy was electric. Workshops covered everything from adaptive equipment design to trauma-informed training to challenging medical fat phobia. Rebecca gave the opening keynote, looking out at a sea of faces representing every body type imaginable. "A year ago," she began, "I was told I was too fat for a gym. Today I co-own 8 gyms that exist specifically to prove that premise wrong. That's not just my story, it's our story. Every person here has fought to claim space in a world that tried to make you smaller. Your presence is resistance. Your movement is revolution. Your bodies are worthy, exactly as they are, full stop." The applause was thunderous. She continued, "But we're not done. Not even close. The fitness industry still has so far to go," Rebecca said. "Most gyms still center weight loss as the primary goal. Most trainers still receive education rooted in fat phobia. Most people in larger bodies still avoid fitness spaces because they've been taught they don't belong. We've changed 8 gyms. There are approximately 40,000 gyms in the United States alone. We have work to do." She outlined PowerZone's next phase. A certification program for trainers wanting to specialize in inclusive fitness, a grant fund to help other gyms implement inclusive practices, partnerships with medical schools to educate future doctors about weight stigma and health at every size principles, and a scholarship program providing free memberships to people who'd experienced discrimination in fitness spaces. We're building infrastructure, Rebecca explained, so that what happened to me and to so many of you becomes harder and harder to replicate, so that the next generation inherits fitness spaces that welcome them. That's the legacy I want to leave. After the keynote, Rebecca was approached by someone she'd never expected to see again. Patricia Holden, the Fit Corp CEO who'd threatened PowerZone's lease. Ms. Martinez, Patricia began, clearly uncomfortable. I wanted to apologize. What I said last year was wrong, legally, ethically, morally wrong. I let my own biases and misguided business concerns override basic decency. I've been following PowerZone's success, and I'm impressed and ashamed of how I treated you. Rebecca studied her, looking for sincerity. What changed? She asked. Patricia sighed. My daughter. She's 15, struggles with body image, refuses to exercise because she's terrified of gyms. She found your TED Talk, showed it to me, asked why there aren't more places like PowerZone. I didn't have a good answer, so I started educating myself. Reading the research, following fat activists, examining my own shit, as you might say. Pause. I can't undo what I did, but I can do better going forward. Fit Corp is implementing new anti-discrimination policies for all our commercial tenants, and I'm personally funding your grant program with $50,000. Rebecca was stunned. She'd written Patricia off as irredeemable, another cog in the machine of discrimination. But here was proof that even powerful people could change when confronted with their impact. Thank you, Rebecca said carefully. That's a meaningful gesture, and I hope your daughter finds PowerZone or somewhere like it. She deserves to move her body joyfully. Patricia's eyes welled. She's joining next week. With me. We're going to learn together. After Patricia left, Marcus appeared at Rebecca's elbow. Did I just witness Patricia Holden apologizing? Rebecca nodded, still processing. And funding our grant program. Holy shit, Marcus said. You're actually changing hearts and minds. Not me, Rebecca corrected. The movement. I'm just one voice in a chorus. But yeah, we're winning. Slowly, imperfectly, but we're winning. The summit's final day included a community workout. Open to all attendees, adaptive and accessible, celebrating movement in all its forms. Rebecca led a strength training segment, demonstrating exercises with modifications for different abilities and comfort levels. Hundreds of people followed along, a beautiful chaos of bodies moving without hierarchy or judgment. Yoga mats and weight benches and resistance bands spread across PowerZone's main gym floor, transformed into a space of collective joy. Emma was there too, moving alongside adults, her 7-year-old body unself-conscious and free. At one point she called out, "Mama, look," and executed a perfect plank. Rebecca's heart swelled. This moment of multi-generational, multi-body celebration, was why she'd endured Derek's cruelty, Patricia's threats, countless online trolls and skeptical investors. For the possibility of a future where children like Emma never learned to hate their bodies. Where fitness was divorced from shame. Where movement was a right, not a privilege earned through acceptable appearance. After the workout, as attendees slowly dispersed, Rebecca found herself alone in the gym with Marcus. They stood in comfortable silence, surveying their kingdom. "Do you remember what you asked me a year ago?" Marcus said. "What would making this right look like?" Rebecca nodded. "I remember. I said I wanted to not feel like an anomaly." "And?" Marcus prompted. Rebecca looked around. At the diverse bodies depicted in wall murals, at the equipment designed for accessibility, at the staff representing every shape and size, at the community that had formed in this space. "I don't feel like an anomaly anymore," she said. "I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And so is everyone else who walks through those doors." Marcus smiled. "Maria would have loved this. What you've built here, it's her dream too. I wish she could have seen it." "Maybe she can," Rebecca said softly. "Through Sophia. Through every person who gets to have the experience Maria deserved but never found. In December, 1 year and 1 month after her first visit, Rebecca returned to the spot where Derek had humiliated her, the leg press machine that had been too small for her body. She'd made a ritual of visiting it monthly, testing her strength, reclaiming the space foot by foot. Today, she loaded the machine with 350 pounds. More than her body weight, more than she'd ever dreamed possible that first day. She positioned herself, gripped the handles and pressed. The weight moved smoothly, her legs powerful and certain. She completed 15 reps, then stood, breathing hard but triumphant. A small crowd had gathered, gym members who'd noticed her ritual. They applauded. Not for weight lifted, but for what that lift represented. Reclamation, transformation, refusal to be erased. Speech, someone called, laughing. Rebecca shook her head, but then Emma's voice. Tell them, Mama. So she did. They tried to erase me, Rebecca said, voice carrying across the gym floor. They told me I was too much. Too fat, too ambitious, too visible, too demanding. They tried to make me small, silent, invisible. And for a long time I let them. I made myself smaller in every way except physically, because I thought that was the price of existing in the world. She paused, gathering her thoughts. But I was wrong. There is no acceptable size for taking up space. There is no weight requirement for worthiness. There is no body shape that determines your value. You belong here, right here, exactly as you are. Not as a future thin version of yourself, not when you've earned it through suffering, but now. Today. In this body. Tears tracked down several faces in the crowd, including her own. They tried to erase me, but I'm still here. We're all still here. And we're not going anywhere. The applause that followed was more than sound. It was affirmation, agreement, solidarity. Rebecca saw Derek in the crowd, openly crying. Saw Marcus grinning with pride. Saw Sophia, Maria's daughter, who'd become a regular and was training for her first 5K. Saw Jennifer, the accountant who'd avoided gyms for 15 years, now deadlifting twice a week. Saw Michael and Emma, her chosen family, cheering louder than anyone. Saw hundreds of people who'd found safe harbor in Power Zone's revolutionary ordinary space. They tried to erase her. They failed. Because Rebecca Martinez had learned the most dangerous truth of all. She was unerasable. Her body, her voice, her presence, her worth, unerasable. And in claiming that truth, she'd created space for others to claim it too. That was the revolution. Not dramatic or flashy, but profound. People simply existing without apology, moving without shame, taking up space without shrinking. That was how you changed the world. One body liberated at a time. Rebecca Martinez walked into a gym one November morning expecting nothing more than a modest fresh start. She walked out having survived public humiliation that would have broken most people. But instead of breaking, she built. She transformed her worst moment into a movement that changed thousands of lives, including her own. Power Zone Fitness became proof that business success and ethical practice aren't mutually exclusive, that inclusion is profitable, that centering the most marginalized creates space that serves everyone. But more than that, Rebecca proved that your body is not your limitation. Your voice matters. Your story isn't over. If this story moved you, I want to hear about it. Drop a comment below sharing your thoughts, your own experiences with fitness discrimination, or how you're reclaiming space in your own life. Your story matters too. And if you believe more people need to hear stories like Rebecca's, stories of women who refuse to be made small, who transform humiliation into power, who change entire industries through sheer force of worthiness, then subscribe to this channel. Hit that notification bell. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that they're enough, exactly as they are. Because here's the truth Derek, Patricia, and every other gatekeeper tried to hide. There is no body that doesn't deserve space, no person too fat or too much or too visible to matter. You belong here. In gyms, in boardrooms, in relationships, in the world. Not someday when you've changed yourself into something more palatable, but right now, in the body you're in. That's Rebecca's legacy. That's our revolution. And we're just getting started. I'll see you in the next story. Until then, Take up space unapologetically. You've earned it.